Engravings. Moon is more expensive than because thirst is more. What? Who the fuck wrote this? You know, ever since the roadmap, right, we made the Brill Shaza preparation video. It's been a lot of help. I want to do one for Reaper as well. So introduction to Reaper. Disclaimer is just a guide. Not really. It's mostly an introduction to the class, who she is, how she feels, how she plays. Not about her rotations and the exact amount of specialization and stuff like that you need. That will be in an actual guide. So the first thing is, why play Reaper? I mean, it's kind of self-explanatory, you know what I mean? You know, she looks good. She's edgy, she's hot. Now, let me tell you guys about the history of Reaper. One of the most popular classes on launch. I guess every class has huge hype, but Reaper was very popular because who doesn't like just stabbing people in the back? Stealthy. We all got that little ninja in us. So she was very popular in Korea. She's sexy yet edgy, right? Reaper Season 1 Legendary, only true thong skin of Lost Ark. I also made a Reaper when I came back to Lost Ark in June of 2021 after the news that it's gonna come out to the Western audience. When it reached the Kremlin first, to Russia first, I was like, is Smilegate joking right now? And then went to Japan next. I was like, what about the Western audience? But anyways, when we finally got the news, I was like, let's go Reaper. So I made Reaper. I started streaming back on Twitch. I had a lot of Korean viewers. They're like, don't make Reaper. I'm like, why? Because she's too popular. You're not gonna get into groups. There are Reapers more geared than you are. You're competing against other Reapers for a spot at a raid. They begged me not to play her. So I made her into a second main. And then after that, what happened? First balance patch, nerfed her by 34 to 37%. She was broken. Like, it was justified. And then that led to a mass exodus. Every streamer back then had a Reaper, multiple Reapers, and they all had to let her go. What was the second nerf? It came with Brill Shaza Hard. Brill Shaza Hard really punished squishy classes. Well, Brill Shaza Hard is nerfed now, so don't worry too much. So that kind of weeded out all the Reaper hype. However, Reapers that stayed got better at surviving, and they just got better at playing Entropy. And they complained about the counter skill being really bad, which also got buffed. So before the recent buff, she went through the worst public perception right before the release of Lost Ark to the Western audience. One thing I want to say about gatekeeping, I don't stand for that. I'm against it. But look at the general audience poll of December 7th, 2021 in Korea. Reaper, last place. So it's a public perception poll for Brill Shaza Normal and Hard, Gate 1 through 6. And the question is, which class do you want to invite? Which one do you not want to invite? And Reaper is bottom with 7,650 votes, 34% of them. This was before she got buffed. She's much better now, so don't worry about it. I said that Reaper had, past tense, the worst public perception. Not anymore. There is another class that has that title. My future Reaper mains, don't worry. I'm just talking about Korea in the past. It was a history. It's not like that anymore. Also, I want to say one thing about gatekeeping that really makes me cringe since the release of Lost Ark to the Western audience. When a blade in chat says, I play Remaining Energy, the Surge blades are like, oh, what's wrong with you? You don't play Surge, you're not Giga Chat, or vice versa. It's so cringe. It doesn't matter. I'll explain why it doesn't matter. I just don't want to see the same thing happen to Reapers. Oh, you're not playing Moon Reaper? You're not Reaper. You're not playing Thirst Reaper? You're not a Reaper. Man, shut the fuck up. I get it. People want to back up what they're playing. They want to make themselves feel good about the spec and class they're playing, but just leave other people alone, man. All right, Reaper. The release 2020 September 29th. Founder skin, here you go. Latex. The only founder skin worth a damn even to this day in Korea. But what about the Western servers? I don't know. The Western server is different. Don't buy 500 packs of these and then stockpile it. But Zeals said that it's worth the most Korea. I said that in Korea, right? But you guys asked me anyway, so I'm just answering. And they're nice. Especially with the Season 1 Legendary when we get them. Reaper strengths, fun. Well, fun is subjective. Why is she fun? Skill cap range goes from low, easy to enter, to high. For those that don't like a challenge, a nice ult, hey, Reaper could be for you. For those that like challenge, I'm Giga Chad. I think I'm the best Lost Ark player, then play Reaper. So she could be anywhere from driving a Tesla on autopilot to driving an 18-wheeler, manual shift. Not a lot of animation locks. There's no really holding or charging. Sound effects great. Got the bass, fly up in the air, stab him with both hands with the huge dagger or small dagger. Aesthetically, she's hot. You just can't go wrong with assassins. Perfect body proportions in my opinion, unlike the mages. And she has a niche counter with the recent balance patch where she got her counter buffed. Utilities, you don't bring Reaper for utility, but she at least got utility. Reaper weaknesses. EHP at the bottom, tied with Scouters, but Scouters have shields, tied with Gunslingers and Deadeye. Pretty much Mosquito. What else? Synergy. She has reduced armor break in her green skills. You get a tripod. All right, so this one has it. Why is the cat so excited? And then this one has it as well. Right there, 12 seconds. So it's gonna be pretty much always up. Now the glow, there's the glow, guys. In Korea, we call her glow toothpick glow. Why is she called toothpick glow? Can you see her glow? By the way, Reaper's right here. Can you see the glow? That's what I thought. Can you see the Striker glow? Same glow, by the way, same color. Reaper's over here, Striker over here. Let's look at the character profile. He's got the blue and white glow. You can't see it. That is my friend, Bapti Cookie. Look at her glow on her War Dancer. Some people do like the small glow, alright? I don't mind it. So for perfect comp, Gunlancer plus Blade, Reaper competes. Why? Because she is an entropy user. She's a back attacker, so she likes Gunlancer and Blade. But she competes with Striker, Scrapper, Deadeye, plus Entropy, War Dancer, Glavier, etc, etc. And some of these are heavier hitters, honestly speaking, no bias, then Reaper. Your friend Bobby is Gunlancer, and you're Johnny and you're Blade. You have a Bard or a Paladin, and you have to fill that last spot. Do you want an Entropy War Dancer or Glavier, or do you want a Reaper? Most Gunlancers and Blades who care, keyword who care, because most people who don't care, they don't give a shit who they bring. Most who care about synergy will not bring the Reaper because of synergy. A Blade and a Gunlancer doesn't want another armor break. They want a reliable crit synergy. Oh, but Zeals, you're just saying the Reaper's bad then. No, I'm not. They don't want Striker either. Does that mean Striker sucks? Fuck no, Striker's crazy good. And let me say something, guys. If Reaper is popular, you have to compete with who? With your own kind. Not only do you compete with Strikers, other Entropy users, but now you gotta compete with your own kind. Whoever honed harder than you, whoever got luckier than you, whoever has better gems than you. That's the downside of not Reaper, but a popular class. Now, in terms of popularity, out of the 1.1 million assassins in Korea, she is number 2. Who should be a Reaper? Most remaining Reaper Korean streamers have set rules when their viewers ask about, is Reaper a good character to main? Rule number 1, be willing to lead the group. You need to know how to use the Esther skill. You need to know how to do all the raid mechanics, all the bitch work, kiting, or doing the star break in Breshaza Gate 3, doing pro kill in Gate 2 of Breshaza. You need to know in and out of the fight. Why? You gotta expect no one to invite you. You need to be the one inviting, not the Gunlancer and Blade. I hope they have, there's an empty spot over there. I hope they invite me. You be the captain. You gotta be hard here. You gotta be not a crybaby. You will explode and die. Dust it off. You will die and people will laugh at you. Dust it off. Say my bad. Move on. Be better. Don't fight and blame your party man. But you didn't shield me. You didn't heal me. Shut up. Nobody likes a whiny Reaper. 2 specs. Reaper is pretty cookie cutter to build. It's not like War Dancer with 16 viable builds. It's not like Jirpong Noodle Aeromancers. It's kind of like Igniter Sork, pretty standard. So there's Moon and Thirst. I don't know what they're gonna be called in the Western version, okay? Thirst, engraving looks like this. Hand, and that's the Moon. What set do you use? Entropy. What card do you use? Ladder Salvation 30. Those are the best in slots. Moon versus Thirst, which is cheaper? Look, in caps, in underline, in Korea only, we don't know about NAEU, South American markets. Why? The fucking class ain't out. Entry-wise, Thirst is cheaper because you don't need a full spec accessories. You could go 50-50. No, you could go a little bit more swiftness and more specialization, but in general, most Thirst Reapers will go 50-50. So swiftness will bring down the cost a little bit. Moon is cheaper in the end game. Why? Because at level 10 gems, Thirst Reapers use 5 damage gems, while Moon uses 3. So while you save on the accessories as Thirst, if you're gonna enter the hyper endgame, the level 10 gems may be more expensive, but in general in Korea, it is more expensive for Thirst in the endgame. What about engraving prices in Korea? I didn't want to include these, but people are gonna ask anyways. At the time of this recording, Reaper Moon is 849 per pop. At the height of Reapers, they were the most expensive class engraving at about 5,000 gold, when Grudge was 5,000 each as well. Thirst Reaper is 2,000 per book. But don't stop there. Let's continue. Moon price action of the last couple days is consistently going down a little bit. Now, that's not because Moon is bad. Thirst consistently also going down, but staying within 2,000. Why Thirst engraving more expensive? Now, let's break it down from 1415 eye level to 1475, which is NA EU South America. Vaulted normal to Cuckoo normal enjoyers. Thirst is leading in popularity by 53% of the Reapers. Let's go to the next bracket. From Cuckoo normal and above to Breshaza hard. Right before Kayangel hard 3, right before Akan normal, we see that Thirst is 54%, while Moon is 42%. But in the end game, which is obviously not what we have in NAU South America, 1580, which is Kayangel, Abyss Dungeon, hardest difficulty level 3, and Akan normal, Thirst is losing a little bit, 52% versus 45%. Once we go to Akan hard mode, 1601 eye level to 1655 max eye level, aka honing Andes, we see that Moon takes over. 53%, Moon, Thirst, 43%. There's a sudden drop. Rankers from 1620 to 1655, which is the max eye level currently in Korea, we see that Moon is in charge. But only 62 players are Moon and 25 are Thirst. Conclusion, Moon has higher ceiling only at the motherfucking endgame, with perfect synergy that land all their back attacks and the back attacks crit. For rankers that have mastered how to play Moon Reaper, which goes back to me saying, don't be like, oh, this guy's Thirst Reaper, don't gatekeep. Oh, he's Moon Reaper, don't gatekeep. Because you're not at the end game. Doesn't matter what you play in NA EU. Just don't die and land your hits. Moon Reapers have higher ceiling damage in the hyper end game, but lower floor damage. Why? Because you're a burst, not like Deathblow burst, not like Doomsday burst, but you're still consistent burster. So if you miss your burst, you have lower floor damage. Hence, if you suck at Reaper, if you suck at back attacking, if you don't know the fights, maybe Moon is not for you guys, because you'll be beat by consistent, easier to play specs. So when is this theoretical cutoff, Zeals? According to Reaper Team Researchers Foundation Union Club, 1600 plus 25 ancient Braille weapon, not ancient Akan weapon, level 10 gem, Light of Salvation. If you're missing one of these, it's better to just play Thirst than to chase the ceiling of the Moon Reapers. If you have all these criterias, then maybe you can be a Moon enjoyer. If you're advanced Reaper user, you're an advanced entropy user, and you have these spec requirements with even a 10.8 rock. I'm just kidding, you don't need a 9.7, but if you have level 10 gems like this guy, good quality accessories, then maybe you should chase the ceiling. But for most of us, we're not there, so don't gatekeep. So what about NAEU South America? Thirst is recommended for new entropy users, new to back attacking. One of the best entry to back attacking. Like Taijutsu Scrapper, Thirst is so nice to get used to back attacking. Why? Even if you're in the front of the boss, you can use Nightmare and get behind. If you're in the side of the boss, you can teleport to the back, okay? You can use these two skills to reposition the back of the boss or to distance yourself from ground effects. Thirst has higher floor damage because it's easier to play, easier to land the back attacks. Thirst is very competitive and also pulls ahead of Moon before the hyper endgame, like I just said. We're not at the point where Moon pulls ahead. In most cases, in the fights we have and the gear we have access to, Thirst will pull ahead. Thirst has more utility, has better stagger, has better weakness, destruction. Thirst has more mobility because you stack 50% swiftness. You get swiftness from your class identity as well as movement skills you can freely use for survival or re-engaging or getting into the back of the boss. So major field difference between Moon and Thirst. Identity bar, you can see right here that Thirst Reaper, you fill it up with the green and the purple boys, and then every time you use a green and the purple skills, it's gonna refresh that icon you see. It's gonna be 9 seconds, and if you have the Thirst engraving, you're gonna do a lot of damage with that. All you want to do as Thirst is maintain full gauge. You never use your identity. Look at this, okay? It's not that hard to refresh it. Once you have the full gauge with the Thirst engraving, your attack goes up by 25%. And then your attack speed goes up by 10%, movement speed by 10%, and your crit chance by 15%. You choose the tripod that gives flat damage increase. Thirst will crit fine, but compared to Moon, you're not gonna crit as often. So if you don't like that, that pisses you off, then, you know, it could be a deal breaker for some people. Now, what about Moon Reapers? For Moon tripods, For the red skills, you get crit, 40, 40, 60%. So you may be approaching the crit cap, which we have to talk about that in a separate guide. A damage cycle of a Moon Reaper is build gauge, stealth, use the red skill, and then you build gauge, once again, with whatever green or purple skills that come off cooldown, and then you stealth again, and then use the red skill, and when you use the 3 skills, that's called 1 damage cycle. So your burst window takes a while. For example, a boss can only take damage for 5 to 6 seconds. You can see that even though Moon is the burstier spec, you may not land all your skills, like a Gunslinger or Deadeye. When you're in stealth, you want to use your red skill. Now, there's a priority of which one hits harder. Like Lazy Spear, that'll be in an actual Reaper guide. I just want you to understand how the Moon feels. The Moon Engraving increases the red skill's damage by 160%. And when you're stealth, your movement speed is increased by 30%. Now, let's talk about the popular engravings. So as you can see, Master Ambush, why? Your entropy. You have back attack skills, Grudge, Crystal, and Keen Blunt. This is for Moon, this is for Thirst. The only really difference between Moon and Thirst is you will get Raid Captain. Raid Captain is very popular. What about Barricade? 4 Reaper rankers use Barricade. You could use Barricade with a shield rune for your red skills so that you have a shield while you cast the red skills, but that's like really cheap version and people think this is like common or something. It's not that common at all. What is the playstyle difference? Moon, don't miss green purple tax and build gauge. When you miss the blue green skills, you feel really smooge, man. Like for example, you throw Nightmare, but the boss moved. Then you gotta compensate by using another skill to get gauge. So you can see how skill matters a lot here. Stealth and land red skills at the back, and you have to crit. A good Moon Reaper knows their gauge gains and how many red skills lands at the back. So after a fight, when they evaluate themselves, they know if they generated gauge well and if they landed their red skills at the back and if they were crits. They keep track of all of those, and that's how they figure out if they'll be a cruel fighter, MVP, or upright. So great mouse control and cursor awareness. Like you gotta think what you're gonna do next. So while you're doing one cycle, you have to calculate the next cycle. Remember, each full cycle has 3 cycles of identity gauge and spending that gauge. So let me show you guys what I mean by the cursor. They laughed at me for months. Oh, why is your cursor so big? Well, let me show you why. Moon Reapers, if you stealth, you get launched back here. And if you scratch, you're gonna miss. So how do you want to stealth, Zeals? Move the cursor opposite direction of where you want your Reaper to go. You want to be in the ass, right? You don't want to be away from the ass. DPS loss, get your gauge again. Maybe there's poop here that you can launch the other way. Or if the boss back was here and it turned around, you want to do this and then also do a back attack like that. So you need to be fully aware of your cursor's position. Same thing with Nightmare. You don't want to miss the Nightmare. Nightmare always goes the opposite way of where you thrusted it. So if you're at the front, back. If you're at the back, front. You missed Nightmare? Shit. One cycle is full 3 gauges and 3 red skills launched. Similar to Esoteric War Dancers, Strikers in Playstyle, but more punishing if you miss the green and purple skills to build gauge. You can also build gauge with auto attacks, but you know, that will slow you down. All right, movement skills and counter skills are used in the rotation as a Moon Reaper. But the Reaper has a lot of movement. You gotta use this to build gauge. So it's gotta be on cooldown. When you want it back up to survive, it may not be there. And if you use it to survive, then it's a DPS loss. Meanwhile, Thirst, they don't have to worry about that. You need to have like 3 to 4 wealth runes. 1 of each color at least. And if you don't, you just need like higher specialization. I mean, higher specialization is already preferred anyways. And I mean, 9-7 stone is nice, but it's not as nice because you're gonna be crit capped anyways. But if you do get a 9-7 adrenaline stone, 7 adrenaline or 10 adrenaline with ancient accessories, you could, I guess, go swiftness necklace. Some people are already going for like adrenaline 3 and trying to go cheap swiftness necklace. What specialization? Thirst playstyle, it's piano. It's like a reflex sword. Kind of like Tie Scrapper, but not as tanky as Tie Scrapper. Got better utility than Moon. This tripod's sick. You have this tripod in both specs. So basically, it's already spammy, but it gets spammier. People asked yesterday, I remember they asked Daniel, is there a skill that reduces the cooldown of the red skills? Yeah, this one right here. Shadow Dot. Very important skill because of this tripod. Now, counterattack. Watch this clip. Counter. Did you see that? You could counter from the back. So if you're in the front of the boss and the boss goes blue, that's a counter. Now, let's say you planted it and then the boss goes blue and you're behind the boss. If you activate it, that is a counter attack as well. Or if you're behind the boss and the boss goes blue, you could just plant it and then counter like that as well. Or you could counter with this one as well. Shadow Trap. counter like that. Instead of running around like this like other classes. Instead, Reapers, while the DPS in the boss goes blue, they're like bam bam. Counter like that. Why did you decide to play Moon Reaper? That's a good thing. Let's finish with that. One thing I want to say to the Western audience is, when it comes to Reaper, not all of us care about doing the best. Whether you're 14, 16, or 15, whatever. Not everyone cares that Thirst does more damage at a certain eye level bracket. Some people actually care about something called fun. I know it's crazy, but fun is a big factor. And I hope to God you guys picked a Reaper because she's fun. I hope at the end you guys pick the playstyle you like, because they're both viable and they're both fun. They're both strong. I think that wraps it up.